Welcome to Redstone class. Let's do homework answers. So the 4 homework assignments were to do a T flip-flop, to be able to basically know how to build this very easily, to do a 1 wide clock that's super narrow, to do a ring of lights for a lighthouse ring. I'll show you what that looks like if the constructions were confusing. And then finally it's to come over and make a better version of this so that it pulses immediately when you push the button instead of when the button turns off. So let's start with the first one. The first one was literally just build this. And so I'll build it in front of you again just to go over it. So what we're going to do is we're going to lock this one and we're going to put an input here. We're going to invert it on this block by putting a redstone torch. And that's going to lock this. Our output will be right here. What we need to do is we need to loop our output backward into this block. I mean, you can put this on top if you want, but we're going to loop it back, and that's all there is to it. So now if I take a button, this will toggle it. They're all 1 tick delay. The key is to have it feed back into this loop. That's how you manage to make it know what the previous state was. And those locks cause it to work. All right, number 2, build a 1 wide narrow clock. Didn't actually prepare anything for this video, so I'm going to invent it as you watch. It'll be pretty simple. So what we're going to do is we're going to have some kind of delay. Sure, doesn't matter. We're going to want it like this, and we're going to want to loop it around so that it goes back. So let's put redstone dust here, put a torch here, we'll put a dust here. If you understand repeaters, you'll know that you should be able to feed it in like this. There you go. There's a vertical clock. And if you want it to go the other way, let's say we do want it to go the other way. Oh, you can't do that. What we could do is put it like that. So instead, we'd have it like this, and we will make it go up and over like this. There you go. So now we looped it up over instead of under. Pretty straightforward. So now lighthouse ring. So that's going to be a tricky one. I'm going to make it even trickier on myself. So normally when people build a lighthouse, a ring, a clock that goes around and lights up everything, normally it's fairly big. And what we're going to do is we're going to do it up here, and we're going to, I'll do it a little bit closer to the ground. So what I want to do is I want to make it just small enough that it's a little cramped, so we don't have a lot of room to work, and that will I'll show you what that looks like. So I'm only going to do one about this big, rather than doing an enormous one. What we want to do is we want to light all of these up. So if we're going to put redstone repeaters in there, we're probably going to want to have something underneath. Maybe this won't be necessary, we'll find out. And so you would basically have some kind of system like this. So let's go ahead and light it up. So what I would do is when you're cramped, what you can do is do multiple levels. And so what I would try and actually, let's light up the diagonal ones first and we'll go from there. And so if we light these corners up, let me take that off actually. We don't know what we're going to need. I don't want to make too many assumptions yet. I'm going to light this half up and then we'll light up the other half. And so if I place something like here, that's going to light those two up because redstone lamps are almost like repeaters where they're very sensitive. We'll do a video on lamps later, but this was one of the challenges to try and see if you could get this to work. It's mostly a repeater challenge. And so what I would do is I don't want to light this one up, so I would probably do this. And what we'll do is we'll run the redstone up on it. And what we can do, and you don't generally want to do all 4 sides until you have the first section working, just so that you kind of have an idea what you're doing. And I would do that, and so this should There. So it goes from this section to that section. That means I need to fill this in. And put a 4-tick delay. And what I will do now is now we got to start thinking about these 2 blocks and then these 2 blocks. We're going to start doing with the other half. And so what I could do is I could put a repeater like this. And what we want to do is come down here, and that actually works beautifully. So if I were to do that, and now if I were to take a lever and just do a quick pulse to start it, and there you go. So a ring of lamps that goes in a circle. And I would expect that if you were to do this in a build, you'd probably want to do one a bit bigger, and maybe you'd be able to make it slower with more repeaters. But this is a way to do it. It takes practice with lamps. They're very sensitive, and so they'll stay a little bit longer, and they will. So that's why we didn't manage to keep it down to 2 or 3 lit like I had hoped. But that's actually a very simple way to make what looks like a lighthouse from a distance. You could obviously replace these lapis with anything you want. So, final part 4 is going to be, how do we make this happen immediately? Well, I gave you a hint. The hint I gave you, I didn't tell you it was a hint, but if you were listening closely, I said this goes from on to off, and it's when it goes off that it's sending the pulse. And so what if we were to cause the pulse to be inverted? Look at that. Isn't that simple? I bet we could make it even closer or something, but could squish this in. But that's all there is to it. That's how you would make it go instantly, is you make it so that off is what it does. You just invert it by using a torch. All right. That's it for the homework.